Today I have one big flip and 6 small, tiny, and quick little projects, all with thrifted decor and a little bit of DIY. So let's start by working on my dining room. And you've been looking at the before shots of my dining room. And so I want to start with my chandelier. As you can see, it is two-tone. It has black wrought iron, but it also has some silver on it or chrome. And I just wanted to have a full wrought iron feel. So let's start by removing the lights and clean this baby on up. And now we're just going to go ahead and apply the paint. And voila! Can you believe the wonderful difference it made with just a little bit of paint? And now let's move on to the artwork. I found these two cuties on Facebook Marketplace, so they were secondhand, and both of these paintings were a total of $20. And I think they are so perfect here and really pick up on the nice blue in the kitchen. And I just love how just a few simple things can make such a big impact. Now for my main project, it is this free table that I found on Facebook Marketplace. And yes, my little dog Buddy always wants to be in the center of the action and with his mama. And it was looking pretty rough, but I had a vision for it in the guest room. First, I sanded it down to give it a fresh base. And now I want to get it ready for paint. So what I am doing is applying this blue painter's tape over the wrought iron part so that I don't get any paint on that. And for paint, what I'm using is some leftover house paint, yes, for the walls. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to save some money and it's going to match exactly. And I didn't have a paint stick, but I did have a wooden chopstick. So I went to town stirring it all up, and now I was ready to apply my first coat of paint. And I made sure to do all of the sides, and then I painted the top. And once that had dried, I went ahead, applied a second coat, and then I let that dry. And then we're ready for the magic, the stencil. I chose this damask stencil from my stash, and I'm going to use Dorian Gray, which is the same color that the walls are painted and that I painted the chair in the room. And I'm going to use a little sponge brush. So the first thing I did was to place the stencil in the middle of the table, and this will help ensure that the pattern is nice and even throughout. And I'm taking just a little bit of paint on my sponge brush, and I am dabbing it off, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that to the stencil. Now, one of the most important things for stenciling is to not put too much paint on your brush, because if you do, that is how you get bleed, where it seeps underneath. And all I'm doing is holding the stencil in place. I'm not even using any tape or anything. I am just using my hand. Okay, and here is how the first layer turned out. Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. So now what we need to do is stencil the rest of the table. So the most important thing here is to line the stencil up. For me, I went and found the repeating pattern and laid it on top so it was overlapping a design that I had already stenciled. And then I just filled in the parts that were open on the table with paint. And I repeated this process until the whole table was stenciled. And look how it turned out. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. I love it. And so I'm going to set it out here so that it can dry, and then I'll show you just a couple more steps to finish it off. We're going to go ahead and sand it down, and as you paint it, the wood grain a lot of times will rise up. So that happened here, but also I am sanding because I want a really sweet look in that room, a real cottagey or farmhousey look that I have been going for. As this is going in my guest room, I really want my guests to feel at home, that they're in a sweet and cozy place where they can just relax. And doesn't this look so worn in and old? Like it has been well loved. I love it. And I'm just going to pick off all of that dust that we just created by sanding it. And then we can go ahead and coat it with a top coat to seal it. And I have to say, I am in love with this trigger sprayer, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. It sure makes spray painting a whole lot easier. So I'm going to do 2 coats of this, and I'm going to let it fully dry between, and then we'll bring it on inside. So I've just got to take the last pieces of this blue tape off. I love how soft that distressing turned out, right? So now, I should have did this first, which is clean it, but I wasn't feeling it. You ever get like that? Get in the mood where you don't feel like cleaning? Okay, I have just this plain old permanent marker here in black, and I'm gonna do things like, see this tiny little spot right here? It's like a little chip. I'm just gonna fill that in so it's not so noticeable. And I'm gonna just do the same thing on top of this little screw right here. Okay, and just like that, it just disappears. So we are in the guest room that I am preparing for my son and sweet daughter-in-law. They are coming to visit in just a couple of days. And so I wanted to put a picture of them in the room so that they would feel welcome and have something precious that was just for them. And so when I put this picture on the table, I noticed, uh-oh, there is not enough room for any coffee or for her to put a book next to it. And that is why I started looking for another side table. There it is. And start by putting the lamp back on. And of course, their picture. Now there's so much more room, and she can put her coffee there in the morning if she wants her. That's very sweet, and I like the gray tie-in for it, and also just that touch of black to tie in with the frame. And on this wall, next, we'll be doing the pictures. And then I got 2 of these frames, so really nice size again for the guest room, and these were $3.99 each. And so I'm going to use the very special tool to lift up the tabs, a butter knife. And I'm going to just remove the backing right here. And then I'm going to take the insides out, and I'm going to clean it really well, especially like the glass. And then I'm going to cut down these little pictures that I printed out that I purchased on Etsy to fit inside of the frame, and then we'll put it back together. And this is how they look on the wall. Oh my gosh, that is so sweet. I just love them. And I finished this guest room update just in time because they are flying in tomorrow, and my husband and I are so excited for them to come. And I'm thrilled that I found this gray matelassé blanket at the Goodwill bins to put over the chairs so they can snuggle up and read a book if they would like while they are here. And do you love it? I really hope that they love it. And if you missed any of these projects over here, I will put a link to those in the description below. Next, I have this old cutting board that I picked up from the Goodwill bins. It had lots of scratches on it, and I decided, you know what, let's turn this into a tray. It is such a super easy DIY, and I love how it turned out. I just cleaned it up by giving it a sanding to smooth things out, and I used this cutting board oil and link to that in the description below. And I just added a couple of handles. And now it is the perfect little tray for coffee or candles or even serving a few little appetizers. This is such a simple project and so versatile too. And do you remember when I hauled this great watering can planter from the bins? It is the perfect vessel for some plants. And so now we're going to put away the Easter decor and update it for spring. So I start off by adding some organic planting matter right into the bin. I'm going to repurpose the plants that were in the Easter planter. And then I'm going to add my sweet flowers and even something that I dug up from my yard for such a low-cost, budget-friendly addition. And then I heard my little dog barking, and I looked to see what he was barking at, and look at this little turtle. He made his way into our backyard. Styling plants outside is always fun, and I'm so happy with how this watering can turned out. I think it is such a charming touch for the patio. And speaking of the Goodwill bins, do you remember that I recently hauled this cute little planter? And I needed a plant to go inside of it, so I went to my local Goodwill store and I found this, and it was only $4.99. So let's put them together, and I think they're going to be the perfect finishing touch on the dining room table. I really believe that adding just a touch of greenery to any space adds a touch of life. So here is how the dining room is looking now. I'm so excited about how the chandelier and artwork turned out. It completely updates the vibe of the space. And I love just how simple secondhand finds can transform a room like this. Just a few affordable pieces, a little bit of paint, a little bit of time. And I added these little daisies also from the Goodwill bins. And now it feels like home. Isn't it amazing how just a few small changes and some items thrifted from the thrift store can really cozy up your home? So I'm Raina and this is Cozy Discoveries. I'd love it if you subscribe and give this video a like if you like to use thrifted finds too. And if you'd like to see more about the guest bedroom or any of my other styling tips, please check out the videos. I've got them linked after this one and in the description below. Thank you so much, and I hope your day is filled with cozy discoveries. Bye-bye.